Okay, folks, we're going to get started. Everybody hear me back there? Great. So good evening and welcome to the Wednesday, August 13th, 2025 meeting of the City of Worcester Planning Board. My name is Albert LaValle and I will chair tonight's meeting. Before we begin, a couple brief announcements concerning how our meeting will proceed tonight. First, all our meetings are in a hybrid format, which means you can participate either in person at City Hall or by going online to worcestermath.zoomgov.com/j/161-731-4979, or by calling in at 669-254-5252 and entering access code 161-731-4979, followed by the pound sign. To manage remote participation during our hybrid meetings and prevent disruptions, all participants are automatically blocked from unmuting themselves at the start or turning on their video or sending chat messages. When it comes time to open up for public comment, we will let you know how to raise your hand, and that's the way to get into the queue for public comment. If you're on the phone for that portion, it's going to be *9, and if you're online, it's going to be a little hand icon. Next, I note this is a public meeting that is both being broadcast and recorded. Minutes will be published at a later date. To help with that process, we ask all speakers participating in person to use a microphone to please clearly identify yourself each time you speak, and the first time you speak, please state your name and your city or town of residence for the record. To help maintain an orderly meeting, please address all comments and questions through the chair rather than directly to any of the other speakers or applicants. Next, there are a number of items on our agenda tonight that are going to be continued or postponed. I'm going to read through those shortly. If you're here on one of those items, please note no additional notice will be sent to you prior to the next meeting. Best thing to do is to call the planning department the day of or the day prior to the next meeting to confirm if that item is going to be heard or postponed that night. It is not uncommon for items to be postponed multiple times before they're heard by this board. Once an item is called, there'll be a brief presentation of that item, followed by any additional comments and clarifications from members of the city staff, then an opportunity for anyone from the public to speak on that item before we proceed to board discussion and action. And finally, all applicants should be aware that approvals are generally conditional. Decisions are generally signed by the board at the next meeting where appropriate, filed with the city clerk the following day, which is what begins any appeals periods. Decisions are typically not released to the applicant until all conditions of approval have been satisfactorily addressed. It is the applicant's responsibility to address conditions of approval, and a lack of doing so can result in delays or enforcement. Applicants are asked to please call the planning division if they have any questions about that. Before we get started, just want to check, do we have Board Member King online, and can we hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, great. How about Board Member Delera? Not hearing Board Member Delera. We'll give him another couple minutes to get signed on. In the meantime, here are the continuances. Item number 1, 0 Farrington Street, a definitive site plan and 81G private street improvement. The request is to postpone the public meeting to September 3, 2025 and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 2nd, 2025. Item number 2, 270 Webster Street and 21 through 25 Clover Street, a definitive subdivision plan. The request is to postpone the public meeting to September 3rd, 2025 and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 2, 2025. Item number 4, 0 Chester Street, a definitive site plan. Request to postpone the public meeting to September 3, 25 and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 2, 25. Item number 9, 10 Diamond Street, a definitive site plan and inclusionary zoning special permit. Request to postpone the public meeting to September 3, 25 and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 2, 25. Item number 10, 1 Frederick Street, a definitive site plan. Request to postpone the public meeting to September 3, 25 and extend the constructive grant deadline to October 2, 25.
I would make a motion to postpone items 1, 2, 4, 9, and 10.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Toomey? Yep. Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That motion passes 4-0. Mr. Delera, are you here? right, still not hearing from Anthony. Okay, so first item on our agenda tonight, we're going to wait until we have a full board for. That's a preliminary subdivision plan, item number 3. We can move to item number 5, 67 Chester Street, which is a public meeting for a definitive site plan. Come on up.
Yes, good evening. For the record, my name's Michael Gagnon. I am a principal civil engineer with SLR International. Our office is located in Agawam, Massachusetts. With me this evening, I also have, I believe virtually, members of the church from LDS, as well as the architect, K&K.
Okay, great. Do you want to just maybe describe the project a little bit for us?
Absolutely. I take it you'll have plans will be available. So essentially, this is an expansion or parking area expansion as depicted on the site plan. And it involves the expansion of the existing parking area. This is actually a good representation of what the project is going to look like on the site ortho photo. So the parking area expansion as depicted here is shown at the southeast of the existing parking area, and essentially, in order to make way for those improvements, just a couple of things that, to be noted is there's going to have to be tree removal, clearing and grubbing, and also the construction of a retaining wall along the easterly and southerly sides of the parking area. That's realistically to make up the grade differential across the site, which is approximately 10 or 12 feet. The new parking area, the existing parking area has 112 parking spaces, of which 5 are accessible. The new parking area is going to be an add of 104 additional parking spaces, plus 2 additional accessible parking spaces as well. And can you go to the next plan, please? Yeah, so all of the accessible spaces will be located within the existing parking area, as shown there along the curb, so that they're all clustered together and located to the main entrance to the facility, which is located up to the existing building. Associated with this project, there are no improvements to the existing church building. That will be done separately in a future project, but is not part of this application. Some other incidental improvements that will occur as a result of this project. We have a bid alternate that is proposed to repave the existing parking area because the existing asphalt is showing some deterioration, heaving, et cetera. So, as part of that project, the hopes are is to undertake that as well. And obviously, we will also be restriping the existing parking area as well, particularly for the new accessible spaces that I mentioned. In terms of access to the new area, the main access, vehicle access, will be at the southerly end of the parking area as shown in basically the darker hatched area, a 24-foot wide entrance to support bi-directional traffic through there. We've also provided a couple of access points for pedestrians to get to that parking area, one of which is located up to the northwest corner of the proposed parking area, and then there's another access that's going to be directly opposite the main sidewalk, kind of off to the west there. And it essentially goes up in between the accessible spaces that I mentioned. In addition to the project, there are going to be landscaping improvements as shown in the drawings. New light fixtures will be installed as well. All light fixtures will be dark sky compliant, meet the various energy code requirements. Obviously, we have approximately 0.6 of an acre of additional impervious area as a result of the parking area, so that's going to necessitate stormwater management improvements. And we proposed a subsurface detention system in that regard. And in our application, we actually have a stormwater drainage report that goes through all of the stormwater management criteria that's in the Massachusetts Stormwater Management Manual. The application or the drawings, as well as the report, were reviewed by DPW. We've addressed all of their comments, and those revisions are reflected in the plan set as being presented here this evening. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay, maybe before we turn it over to staff, I know looking at this plan, I suspect some other board members have this question. It seems like in order to get access to the new parking area, which presumably the church is adding because they have a need for it, you know, I'm imagining the first spaces to fill up are going to be all the spaces that currently surround the building. So maybe somebody's running a little bit late for service, and they have to snake their way through the parking lot and then back into that the new parking area, while there's probably also some folks walking from their cars into the building. Just wondering, is it topography that's sort of driving the location of the access to the new parking area, or is it something else? Might you not put it closer to the entrance?
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's something that we looked at during the planning stages for this project. So, as you mentioned, a lot of it is due to topography, particularly the main portion of the new parking area. That slope drops off rather dramatically. Grades are, you know, in excess of 10 to 15% in that area. So we wanted to keep that area as low as possible while achieving, you know, a maximum 4% gradient across the parking area, you know, which is considered acceptable, because otherwise the retaining wall height would have been a lot more significant. So consequently, that's why the entrance is located where it is, because the topography in that area is a little bit milder and can support that access point. I'm also considering, you know, again, with the steep gradients, you know, winter and icing conditions too need to be considered as well. And lastly, if you look at the configuration of the property line, you know, particularly to the south, that's why we've got that little area that's excluded from parking because of the lot configuration to the rear. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Additional comments on this item from city staff?
Through the chair, this is Rose Russell in the Planning Division. Just a brief overview of this project. So it's a definitive site plan application for the property at 67 Chester Street. So as was discussed, presently today the site is used as a church, and their existing parking lot has about 112 parking spaces. They're not proposing any improvements to the building at this time. They're really just proposing to construct this additional parking to the south. So you're looking at 104 new parking spaces. And the reason it's definitive site plan is because of the size of the retaining walls considered a structure. So that's what triggers this to be site plan rather than parking plan approval. So as I stated, the slope drops down pretty steeply once you get to the edge of that parking facility. So the retaining wall varies, but it's 14 feet at the highest point. Just to run through some of our recommended conditions of approval, so we're asking for some more landscaping, specifically on the southwestern edge of the proposed parking area. So it's kind of hard to see on this plan, but right at the bottom is the property line where it kind of jogs up. So this is the border where we're looking for either a 5-foot buffer of plantings or a 6-foot solid style fence, just to block any view onto the abutting property. We'd like to see some additional landscaping in the medians between the parking areas, have the snow storage location identified on the plan. We had asked for some modifications in the proposed light fixtures, so ask that they be shielded and reduced in height to no more than 16 feet, and then just to label the surface treatments on the plan. I don't think I have anything else to note, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Russell. Any concerns with any of staff comments? Have you reviewed the memo?
Yes, we have, and those are all definitely reasonable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Additional comments from DPW on this item?
Hello, everyone. We already submit a memo with some comments. Particularly, the most important will be that the proposed sewer main extension will require City Council approval and prior agreement with the Department of Public Works.
Okay, and I understand from the applicant you've reviewed DPW's comments as well?
That's correct.
All right, thanks for that. We'll open it up to public comment on this item tonight. A reminder for folks online, if you could just raise your hand, that's how we know that you want to speak. You can do that now, and if there's anyone in the room, we typically take in-the-room comments first. Come on up, you just have to use a microphone. And those ones are off, so if you hit the button, that will turn it on, it will turn green. Perfect.
All I want to do is vote no, that's it.
Okay, thank you for that comment. Anyone else in the room on this item tonight? Is there anyone online? Okay, board members.
For myself, no big concerns with the site plan. Appreciate the applicant being willing to work with staff's comments regarding screening and additional plantings. So I'm happy to support it.
Other board discussion? Hearing none. I would note that I think the plan's been adequately reviewed and is a reasonable request. I would, I don't think generally we love to add more parking everywhere in the city, but need adequate parking to support the use, and appreciate the applicant's willingness to work with city staff to incorporate some features to make it a better fit for the surrounding properties. So I'm also happy to support it. And just for as much my own reminder as anything, Mr. Toomey is an alternate member, so he votes on special permits. This is not a special permit, this is just a definitive site plan, so doesn't vote on this item.
And through you, Mr. Chair, we do have our other board member online, but I think he missed the tad beginning of this, so we would have Anthony not vote as well, but subsequent items, we should have him online.
Okay, thanks.
With that, I would make a motion to approve the definitive site plan for 67 Chester Street, subject to staff recommended conditions on pages 2 and 3 of the staff memo and DPW's memo dated July 16th.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 3-0. Before I call the next item, Mr. Delera, do we have you on audio?
Yes, you do. Good evening.
Excellent.
Through the chair, if we could get the speaker from the public, their name and city of residence or town of residence, just I don't think we got that with their comments.
Do you mind telling us your name?
My name is Rachel Joy King. I'm originally from Springfield, Illinois, but I live in Worcester County in Webster, Massachusetts. My address is 11 Holly Lane, Webster, Massachusetts, 01570. And I'm a longtime community member, and I'm Agent X.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the record, you don't have to tell us your whole address. I know you did, but no problem. More for your privacy than anything. Okay, we're going to call the next item, which is item number 3, 34 Escow Road and 224 Southwest Cutoff. This will be a public hearing for a preliminary subdivision plan.
Good evening. For the record, Eric DeBrule with Bowler Engineering, also joined tonight by Adam Baldarelli, attorney Fletcher Tilton. We're representing the applicant tonight, which is AFA Morello. We're obviously before you tonight to review a preliminary subdivision plan. The existing 2 properties that will make up the entirety of the assemblage is at 34 Escow Road and 224 Southwest Cutoff. The 2 lots in total equate to about 30 acres. And generally there's various zoning throughout the property, but effectively we've got limited manufacturing, general manufacturing, which makes up the vast majority of the site, as well as single-family residential zones. Escow Road is an existing private road about 670 feet that extends north from Southwest Cutoff Road. It currently dead ends at the current property. What we're proposing is to extend Escow Road another 695 feet into a cul-de-sac subdivision, so a total of 1,365 feet. The proposed extension is essentially just to provide 2 new property frontages within this overall assemblage to gain better access and usability for the site. Lot 1 is proposed at about 10.5 acres, and Lot 2 would be proposed at about 19.1 acres. The plans in, perfect, so this plan just shows the actual subdivision road, again extended off of Escow Road as proposed. The plans, from our perspective, generally conform with the subdivision regulations. Dimensionally, however, there are 5 waivers that we've requested and would like to go through those with you and hopefully get your feedback on that, as well as any technical information tonight. Relative to the waivers, we are in receipt of the staff memo. They've listed them 1 through 5, so I'll just, for ease of review, go in that order. The first 2 have to do with geometry of the road, effectively subdivision regulation, minimum centerline offset section 9C.5.A requires 125 required offset, and effectively what that means is the jog in the road that you see, the most southerly portion of the proposed road, requires a little bit of a longer jog, so that effectively the roadway would be a little bit of smoother curve, if you will. So we've shortened that a touch, and the reasoning for it is based on the existing geometry of the property, where it enters from the existing private portion of Escow Road and how the properties jog. That is just what we can fit based on the existing geometry of the property there. Number 2 is the minimum centerline radii, section 9C.5B. Similarly, we require 275-foot minimum radiuses, and we're requesting a waiver to allow for 100. But again, that's effectively the same reasoning as number 1. To be able to get this geometry in, that's how it fits. We feel comfortable with the geometry and how it works out from an engineering technical perspective. We didn't note any comments from DPW specific to those in the staff memo, but I just wanted to specifically point that out. Number 3 has to do with maximum dead end allowances. So that is section 9C.8. The city allows for a maximum of 500 feet for a subdivision cul-de-sac. We are effectively taking the existing 670 feet of the existing private road and also extending that 695 feet for a total of 1,365 feet. And the waiver there, again, it's an existing road. We don't necessarily have control over the distance to gain sufficient access to the bulk of this property. That's the minimum essentially required to allow us to gain access to that, significant portion of the overall 30 acres of property. Item 4, existing and proposed topography, section 5D.9. There's a requirement for a minimum of 4 2-foot contour intervals. Our plans reflect 1-foot contour intervals is just what the survey picked up. So it's more detailed information. So actually probably a good thing and just a standard that we like to follow. So I can't imagine having more information would be bad, but we wanted to just make sure that we were conservative and requested the waiver. And the 5th has to do with locating major features on site, and that's section 4D12. Very specifically, we're requesting not to have to locate trees that are greater than 12-inch caliper. The road itself follows, the existing portion of the road follows an already developed area. The survey didn't pick up those trees, and it's essentially fairly costly to have to go back and relocate trees at 12-inch diameter, and that's just the honest truth and why we're requesting it. So I just want to be transparent there. Again, we think these waivers are reasonable, again, to provide access to this property. And really without it, it certainly limits its marketability and usefulness. We are in receipt of the staff memo. We reviewed it and I think generally aligned with a lot of the recommendations there, but certainly open to discussion. Can get into more technical details, again, of the subdivision design itself, but at a pretty preliminary nature, and I think DPW and the rest of the staff did a fairly thorough job in giving feedback, so I'll save you getting into any more technical details unless needed. Adam, I missed anything before we turn it back, or?
Nope, thank you.
That's good, okay. We appreciate your time and certainly ready for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before city staff comments on this, just for everyone's clarity, this is a preliminary subdivision request, I guess. And the real reason this comes before the board is to evaluate the waivers the applicant is seeking and provide any feedback that might need to get incorporated before they come with a final plan that could be approved. So the discussion tonight will be focused around that. We're not, regardless of what action we take tonight, we're not approving the plan. So anybody from the public who's interested in this is not going to cause anything to happen. This is more an opportunity for the applicant to come forward and hear comments on the suitability of their plan as it relates to the waivers, both from members of the city staff and from this board and from members of the public. So that's what we're here to do.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Michelle Smith in the city's planning division. Wanted to just reiterate what you just stated, which is that this is a preliminary process. So effectively anything to become final has to come back, whether you approve, deny, or it's withdrawn. Ultimately, there has to be a subsequent action with a definitive plan to establish this way. So this is not the final action, and that is true with even zoning freezes that the plan could potentially establish were the project not to be physically constructed. So in this case, the applicant is looking to do a 2-lot subdivision with about 690-something foot road that extends beyond the terminus of the existing private Escow Road layout. That's on about 30 acres of land. Today there's a driveway that kind of functionally exists in about this location. If you looked at an aerial image or a map, you might have seen that. And so they're looking, that's just a driveway at this point. They're looking to create a road and build a new road in that location that ends in a cul-de-sac today. There is no physical turnaround at the end of Escow Road. If you've been out there, it hasn't recently, I think it's been recently maybe modified, but hasn't been the smoothest surface to drive on. So it's an existing private way. We have comments in the memo provided relative to the subdivision regulations, the waivers that the applicant is identified as waivers that they would be seeking relative to the dead end length. While we typically don't recommend waiving that it's a road that's already in excess of the 500-foot dead-end length, and given the northern part of the site is predominantly residential in nature, so the gradient of the zone change, the zoning districts that change over the course of the property, board members will recall from a recent zone change petition that was heard in front of this board and has yet to proceed in front of City Council for a hearing, but the furthest north part of the site is an RS district, then it transitions to manufacturing, lighter density, and then more intensive density. So basically you have kind of that gradient over the property. So in this case, we don't allow residential uses in the manufacturing districts, but we are hoping that the applicant could maybe clarify their intent in terms of the intended use, given that there is a pending zone change, which is seeking to potentially change that to a residential district. So we want to just make sure that the board has that understanding as they evaluate the considerations in front of you tonight, but typically we don't have a concern about the dead end length, and in this case, or I should say typically we do, but in this case, given the juxtaposition of uses to the south along Route 20 with the manufacturing uses and nature of that corridor, and the low density nature of the northern part, I think in this case we are less hesitant on that. That being said, typically the fire department and our office do like to see redundant means of access, so we just want to identify that if that is something that the board is interested in waiving, the applicant should be aware that future site development proposals will need to find a way to provide redundant access somewhere else, so that if the road were to be blocked, an emergency response vehicle could get to the site. Again, there's not a physical development proposed on the site beyond the road, so that's not really what's in front of the board to discuss, but the board should ask about the nature of the use that's contemplated there. Don't have any issues with the requests related to the contours. Relative to trees, we would just recommend that the board consider the applicant providing, and there may be none, but we'd prefer to see any trees that are proposed to be removed within the limit of disturbance that are in excess of 12 inches be shown on the plan. I think there may be none, or there may be a very few, but beyond that, typically the limit of clearing, if it's an already cleared area, is adequate in our opinion, but larger trees within the limit of work we do like to see in the event that there is the opportunity to preserve those, so the board can discuss on that, but typically those are our thoughts on the matter. Overall, as I mentioned, this is a preliminary approval. It is a requirement if this is a non-residential subdivision, which is most likely the case given the manufacturing zoning that exists today and the potential for a zone freeze to be established by this process. So they should comment on that. Also consider commenting on if they considered the potential for any open space lots, given some of the wetland constraints on a variety of the land and some of the residentially zoned property that would likely not be available for use. Were the property to be used for manufacturing purposes. So just something for the applicant to consider as they proceed with progressing the design. Relative to the road name, we just want to ensure that this maintains the existing road name. It would be an extension of Eskow Road, but it's not Eskow Road Extension, it's just Eskow Road as the plans progress. So the subdivision can be nicknamed, if you will, Eskow Road Extension, but the road should stay Eskow Road. I commented on the redundant access. Ultimately, the creation of these two lots would really be facilitated. The right-of-way that they're showing does include proposed retaining walls. Typically, that's something that the Department of Public Works prefers not to have in the right-of-way when the way is going to be taken as public, which from our understanding is the applicant's intention. So we want to make sure that whatever walls are proposed are absolutely necessary. Typically, that would mean that it facilitates a wetland crossing or a stream crossing, and there's no alternative. So that's something that we want to have the applicant explore and evaluate as they progress the plans to potentially eliminate, or at least eliminate as much as possible. Related to the walls on the southeastern side, there's a retaining wall that appears to be kind of right up against the edge of the right-of-way, and the adjacent land is owned by a private property owner who is not the applicant, so we're concerned about the ability to maintain that wall without an easement. So the applicant would either need to look at eliminating that or coming up with a way to get an easement from that private landholder for maintenance of the wall. They might be able to shift it, but I think based on the location, it may be driven by the wetland and topographic constraints, so that may not be possible. So we just want to highlight that for their progression of the plans. And while This is preliminary. We don't have a lot of information. We don't have a stormwater report. We don't have a lighting plan. We don't have a landscaping plan, so we can't necessarily evaluate all of these items. So we have conditions that are recommended to ensure that they would just comply with the standards that the board has for those, although the applicant has indicated their intention is to do so. But specifically as it relates to stormwater management, there's a basin that's proposed in the sort of southwestern corner, just kind of around where the road bends. There's an angular part, and this kind of triangle shape is where they're proposing that in contemplation. Just want to note that that area is likely too close to surface waters to be used for infiltration, and so that the BMPs for infiltration would need to be met elsewhere. And specifically that location also appears to be in a place where there's an existing driveway off to a property on the west that cuts through the site, and the location of that would eliminate that driveway. Whether there are rights to that driveway to exist, need to be maintained or not, just something that the applicant should speak to and be addressing in the definitive plan, if not this evening. So those are kind of the comments and questions that we have just as it relates to the level of detail that's been provided, and then again, a variety of different conditions outlining the requirements for lotting, easements, open space lots, phasing, erosion control, et cetera, et cetera. I can read through them all, but there's 35 different conditions there. Happy to answer any questions. Again, the board recalls the previous rezoning petition. Prior to that, there was a submission to the zoning board for a special permit to allow an auction house for an automobile auction. That was never heard by the board, but was ultimately withdrawn without prejudice. Prior to that, the Conservation Commission had issued an order of resource area delineation confirming the wetland boundaries. We subsequently revoked that due to a notice error on the applicant's part after becoming aware of that. So there's not currently a confirmed wetland boundary at the site. So we just want to make sure that that happens prior to a definitive plan being submitted or in parallel with that, so we can rely on the wetland delineation that's shown in the plan. And then way back when, in 2009, the existing driveway that is on the property was permitted to be constructed as part of a series of site plan approval and approvals with the Conservation Commission, basically as not a road but a driveway to an internal site. Things have changed much since then, but that is the case. And then any improvements to the existing private Escow Road would require a Chapter 12, Section 12 filing as part of the subsequent suite of filings related to the improvements that would be proposed within that right-of-way. And they will need to file the definitive subdivision, and then subsequent development on the lots themselves would require site plan review. So I'll leave my comments there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Before we go to public comment, anything in there that you guys want to address? I know you've seen the memo. I know that this is mostly about feedback, but any questions that you have?
Mr. Chair, thank you. And again, for the record, Adam Baldarelli from Fletcher Tilton appearing for the applicant as well tonight. And thank you, Assistant Chief Smith, for those thorough comments. I appreciate it. I heard a few things that you would like some feedback and comments from us on, and I'm happy to provide that. I might hand it off to my colleague as well. Initially, I know you're looking for some input in regards to the use, and that was mentioned in the memo as well. I can report to the board this evening. The applicant has no specific desires at this time. He does want to do something with it eventually, but there's nothing concrete at this time that I can report. I know part of the memo stated that it would be helpful to provide some input so that further plans in regards to DPW could be detailed moving forward. So what I can say, and I believe it was mentioned earlier, is that these parcels in particular are located in three split zoned, three zoning districts, two of which are general manufacturing and limiting manufacturing. I would say it's about 90-95% of the parcel is in that zone. So I would say that it's looking like more of the use would be in relation to the way it is right now with the commercial use. In terms of anything else, but as I mentioned, there's nothing specific in that regard. That's the applicant is proposing at this time. I would also add that based on my review, at least, of the zoning code, that Many residential uses, as of right, are not permitted in the manufacturing district. So again, that would lead more towards a perceived use of commercial or industrial use in the future as well. I did hear a comment earlier, and I believe it was included in the staff memo in regards to open space. My review of the plans and of the area, the westernmost part of the parcel is more wetlands use. So I would say that there's no present development plans for that area based off of the current existing layout or makeup of the parcel area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Additional comments on this item from DPW?
In addition to the notes that were provided, I would say that I saw that the diameter of the roadway pavement was 70, and the minimum according to the city standard is 80 feet. For the diameter of the roadway pavement. And that's in addition to the other comments that were already submitted.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll open it up for public comment now. A reminder for anyone who wants to participate and is online, it's the hand button to raise your hand so that we know you want to speak. Doing or pressing *9 on your phone will do the same thing. But we'll take comments from anybody in the room who wishes to speak first. Come on up.
This is Agent X. I want to say I have intel. This is a Black Ops Luciferian plot with -1 and -10. So I would say strong opposition. That's unrighteous, unholy, and he's -1, -10 Black Ops shit. So a strong opposition.
Okay, could you just remind us your name again?
Rachel Joy King, and that's an absolute no.
Thank you.
Poseidon KGB shit.
Okay. Anyone else in the room wishing to speak on this item tonight? Not seeing anyone in the room. Has anybody online raised their hand? Board members.
For myself, yeah, I mean, obviously this is a preliminary plan. So with that in mind, I think staff's review and the comments they provided give a good direction for the applicant to move forward. For the waivers that were requested, I don't have a particular waiver. I think in this case, given the industrial manufacturing use to the south on Route 20 versus the residential use to the north, that waiver probably makes sense in this case. And I would kind of agree with staff's recommendation on the locating the 12-inch caliber trees, but otherwise I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCormick. Mr. King, any comments from you?
No, agreed. I think the staff team adequately reviewed this one. No additional comments. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dolera?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I don't really have any additional comments either. Without the applicant really having a sense about what they intend to do with this, there's really not much for me to go on based on that. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dolera. Mr. Toomey, anything you'd like to add? Do we not have a microphone for Mr. Toomey?
You can have mine.
Thank you. Just the cul-de-sac, is that if it's going to be manufacturing with trucks coming in and possibly fire trucks, is that big enough for them to be able to make turns in that?
Yeah, that was a comment from, I believe, DPW, so we'll definitely look into that and make sure it's feasible, but I'm confident that it will. Yeah.
Will they be running sewage in off of Route 20 into that area at the same time when they're building everything?
Yeah, as proposed, I believe there is sewer and water up and through the private road. We'd continue it through continuing all the way to the bulb of the cul-de-sac.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Toomey. For myself, I generally find the requested waivers to be appropriate given the specific constraints of the site related to the turning radius, et cetera. I think staff did a great job calling out a number of things that this board cares about. Sidewalk extension in particular caught my eye, but there's a ton of, different things that we would want to see before we'd be ready to finally approve this plan. But as far as, the stage of development that you're at, this, I think is heading in a direction that, we'll be ready to support when you come back for definitive. Maybe for, just for clarification, what is our action on this tonight?
Yeah, through the chair, so you can vote to approve, conditionally approve the preliminary plan, even though that kind of effectively has no meaning without a subsequent action through the definitive plan. As it relates to the waivers, you can essentially in your motion indicate your intent to support the waivers noted.
Okay.
You can also deny it. It's up to you. In the past, you've typically approved these kinds of action.
Okay, appreciate that.
With that, I would motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Delera,
Yes.
Mr. McCormick,
Yes.
I vote yes, 4-0, hearing's closed.
And I would make a motion to approve the preliminary subdivision plan for 34 Escow Road and 224 Southwest Cutoff with staff recommended conditions of approval on pages 2 and 3 of the staff memo, and to support the waivers outlined in the staff memo.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Delera,
Yes.
Mr. McCormick,
Yes.
I vote yes as well, 4-0, that motion passes. Good luck, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, next up is item number 6, 7 Longsworth Road. This will be a public hearing for a definitive frontage subdivision plan, so the definitive version of what we just heard.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and the board. For the record, my name is Nicholas Hoffman of 18 Share Trail, Worcester. I'm the current owner of 7 Longworth Road. Before I begin, I would first like to thank Olivia, who is the planning analyst assigned to the project, Victor, who is the chief planner, who has helped me throughout, and of course, Michelle for her continued high-level guidance and oversight of this project. I understand dealing with this project was not easy, and I do appreciate your help. I'll keep this brief as the board, neighbors, and many other people in this room and calling in are familiar with my project. I would like to take this time to go over a high-level overview of the project and how we got to where we are today. On August 4th, we were granted a variance for 2 feet of frontage for the project. Since this is not an A&R project, we are here in front of the board tonight requesting approval of our definitive frontage subdivision plan. We will be requesting all the waivers recommended for this project tonight as well. Despite this subdivision request, I want to be sure to point out this is just one lot we are seeking to subdivide. It was originally 2 separate lots years ago ahead of the merge rule in which they were combined into one lot. The approval I'm seeking before you tonight from the planning board will be the last of the required for us to move forward with the permitting process. I'm so excited and fortunate for the board's consideration of yet another fantastic project that will be another successful partnership between the city and I. Thank you. I would now like to hand this over to the city's Planning and Regulatory Service Department so they can provide their own high-level overview.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, I just want to clarify, I don't believe the city has a sort of partnership role in this. I don't believe the land was acquired, so I just want to clarify. In that respect, I think the applicant is referring to just clarification on procedural items as it relates to that. So this is a definitive, what we call frontage subdivision, which typically indicates that there's not an actual road that's being constructed. So we were just looking at a typical subdivision, right? A road is being constructed, a new right-of-way layout is being established. And so there are a variety of different standards and requirements that we have codified to ensure that that construction is up to city standards and provides adequate access for emergency response purposes, public safety, et cetera. So the primary purpose of the subdivision control law is to ensure that lots are provided with adequate access and that ways are adequately improved and safe to traverse for members of the public, property owners or occupants users of the property, as well as emergency response vehicles in particular, as I know many of the board members often have questions about. So just a little bit of framing, because we do have a couple newer members on the board. So really the board's role in the subdivision process is ensuring that there's adequate access being provided to the lots and the ways are safe fundamentally. So in this case, there's an existing lot that's shown here. The applicant is proposing to divide that into two. You may have heard reference or saw reference to a sort of historic tracts of land that were present in this area. That is true, not unlike other areas of the city where there are tracts of land, and by virtue of what's called the merger rule, when there are multiple that are held in common ownership, they merge for purposes of zoning compliance. So today, those kind of lots that were referred to, if you will, exist two pieces of land with 64 feet of frontage each, and the applicant is proposing to essentially reconfigure that so that the lot to the south has 65 feet of frontage, which is the zoning compliant requirement amount of frontage, and that the lot to the north has 63 feet of frontage, which is short 2 feet or 3% of the required 65-foot frontage requirement. So the applicant has gone to the Zoning Board of Appeals and obtained a variance. That action was voted by the board. The decision has yet to be filed with the city clerk, but that is likely to occur next week, just in terms of timeline. So what's in front of the board tonight is essentially what is, I will call equivocally, an A&R plan, but it's not endorsable because it doesn't have the minimum amount of frontage that's required in the zoning district. So the board instead is reviewing this through the subdivision process. So keeping in mind the road's not actually physically being constructed. It exists, it's a public way, Longworth Road along the frontage of the property, but it doesn't meet, one of those lots does not meet the minimum standard that is established in the zoning ordinance. So the board is being asked to waive that or deviate from that standard through this process, compared to something that would be an A&R approval where it meets that minimum. So the applicant is requesting a waiver from all of the requirements essentially in the subdivision regulations as it relates to plans, except those that would typically apply to an A&R. And then all of the different sections that we have related to design, surety, and construction of roads, seeking waivers from all of those standards as well, as is typical of this type of request. And then again, the waiver of the specific minimum frontage requirements that are mandated by the zoning ordinance, which would be 65 feet. And again, what's proposed is 65 on one lot and 63 on the other. Today, there's a single-family home, and the applicant hopes to have this occur to enable construction of an additional single-family home on the other lot, which is the impetus for this whole project. I'm happy to answer questions that the board has. This is an RS7 zoning district, and collectively, this is 128 feet of frontage. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Additional comments on this item from DPW?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll open it up to members of the public. Just a reminder for anyone who's online, please raise your hand now so that we know when we get to that portion that you'd like to speak. Sometimes it takes a second for that all to work through. It's *9 on the phone and the little hand on the computer. But we'll start with folks in the room, so please come on up, sir. Use a microphone. Let us know your name and your city or town of residence, please.
Keith Boucher, 11 Longworth Road. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again. I want to begin by requesting that the board ask Mr. Hoffman to refrain from engaging in behavior that could be reasonably perceived as aggressive or hostile toward neighbors while visiting his property at 7 Longworth Road. Whether by himself or through his associates. Given the sensitivity of the ongoing proceedings, it is important that all interactions remain civil and free of intimidation. As residents, we understand that growth and development are part of any city's future, but that growth must be guided by principles of fairness, transparency, and respect for process. Unfortunately, what has unfolded in this case has left many of us deeply concerned about how decisions are being made and whether public input is being taken seriously. At the ZBA meeting on August 4th, the board approved and requested variance at 7 Longworth. While this was disappointing, what was more troubling was how this decision was reached. The board claimed the hardship stemmed from the shape of the lot, but that did not acknowledge, let alone address, the repeated public concern that the hardship was self-created. This is a crucial legal requirement. Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 10 specifically prohibits approval of variance when the hardship is self-created. The hardship was not only self-created, but was pursued with the expectation that the rules could be bent to accommodate the applicant's goals. That is not what the law allows. The applicant knowingly purchased the property and sought to subdivide, and despite knowing the frontage requirements would not be met. This was not addressed in the board's deliberation at all. The Warren versus Zoning Board of Appeals of Amherst, 383 Mass 1, 1981, reinforces that a variance cannot be granted when the hardship is self-created, particularly when there is a profit motive. In Warren...
Sir, I just want to be clear that while what you're saying, I'm sure, is well-researched, it doesn't pertain to what we're voting on tonight. We're not the Zoning Board of Appeals. We can't undo their action. That's not our role. Okay. We're just pursuing they're here with a definitive subdivision, frontage subdivision plan. We're evaluating that only. I can't speak to Zoning Board, and I don't think it helps, us make a decision or you further your arguments to kind of present all the legal.
Okay. Are you telling me to stop speaking about this issue?
I'm advising you that doesn't seem germane to the topic at hand.
I believe it is, because the conduct of the committee and the employees of the board have affected this case.
The board doesn't have employees. We're volunteers.
If you would allow me to continue speaking, I will get to that.
Okay. This is a public process, so we will, ask you to keep your comments germane to what we're discussing.
I will continue reading. This was the second public hearing where this concern was raised and ignored. The lack of discussion around this key legal point undermines the trust in this process. We have the right to expect that decisions are firmly grounded in law and not bent or broken for sentiment, convenience, or developer interest. The zoning rules exist for a reason, and their application should not be selectively waived simply because other lots created before the rules came into effect do not comply. The question whether we respect the rules as the question is whether we respect the rules as they stand today. Additionally, residents reported being approached at their homes by the applicant holding copies of their submitted letters. While these letters are part of public record, several neighbors expressed that they did not expect to be personally confronted about them so soon after sending them to planning. This has the potential to make residents feel uneasy about participating in the civic process. Even more concerning were comments made by the applicant to the neighbors outside of the meetings. Multiple residents report that the applicant told them directly that this is happening, it is full steam ahead, and that this will not be stopped. These statements not only imply a preordained outcome, but they discouraged public participation by making residents feel like their voices do not matter. Compounding this is the mixed messaging from planning about how such correspondence is shared. In prior communications, it was stated that the proactive release of resident submissions to applicants is not a formal policy or procedure, but rather a courtesy at planning's discretion. Yet in other exchanges, it has been implied that such sharing is a standard part of the process. This lack of consistency leaves residents uncertain about what to expect and how their participation will be handled. I'm asking the Board of Planning to provide clarity by adopting and publicly posting an official policy on the release of public comments and ensuring that any such policy is strictly followed. Since this is the last time that we will get to speak on this matter, I would like to say a few more things that have troubled myself and a few of the other residents in regard to how this process has unfolded. Before the August 4th meeting began, the applicant was observed moving around the room, engaging with staff members, standing behind the dais, and exchanging laughter, jokes with the ZBA personnel. During the application's opening statement, he boasted that this was going to be another great collaboration. I would like to ask the planning board directly, in what way has this been a collaboration and with whom? I do appreciate that Michelle Smith clarified that earlier. At the August 4th meeting, it should be noted that Victor Panic, chief planner, had made a call directly to me hours earlier in which I expressed my concerns about perceived biases amongst the board and intimidation of residents by the applicant. Mr. Panic felt that they need to clarify one of Mr. Hoffman's previous statements by noting that the board does not make decisions on matters prior to deliberation. I would note that Mr. Panic did not make a corrective statement about Mr. Hoffman's project being another great collaboration. Additionally, during the hearing, the chairman of the ZBA was visibly stifling laughter while members of the public were speaking. This behavior was deeply disrespectful and sent a clear message about how seriously public testimony was being taken. All of this, when viewed in its entirety, is not how the public process is supposed to work. We ask the planning board to view this project not in isolation, but as part of a broader pattern. The appearance of favoritism towards developers, especially when the public is being disregarded, sends the wrong message. It undermines confidence in Worcester's institutions and discourages civic engagement at a time when we need it most. This is about more than just one house. It is about how we make decisions as a city, who those decisions benefit, and whether those entrusted with oversight are doing their jobs with fairness, integrity, and transparency. The city's disregard for key legal requirements not only undermines trust, but exposes the city to avoidable appeals and litigation. Please consider all of these issues carefully as you evaluate this application. Thank you very much.
Just before you step down, while I think you raise a number of concerns regarding public trust and accountability that are all valid, before you take a seat, you're welcome to say those things here. They're not within the board's purview. They might be within city councils or the city managers or someone else's. Do you want to say anything about the definitive frontage subdivision plan?
I'm in opposition to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public in the room tonight wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, does anyone online have their hands raised?
If anyone's called in, it's *9 to unmute.
Okay, board members.
For myself, this is a very straightforward application in front of us. This project already received a variance from the Board of Appeals, so tonight for the planning board, we're just looking at this as a definitive frontage subdivision, and I think it clearly meets those very basic requirements, so I am happy to support it.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Mr. King?
Yes, from what's within our purview on this, it makes sense and happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Delera?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I agree. Within the purview of the planning board, everything seems fairly straightforward here, so I would support it as well.
Okay, Mr. Toomey, anything you'd like to add?
Nothing to add, thank you.
Okay, from myself, I will say as it relates to the definitive frontage subdivision, this is a unfortunately straightforward, or not unfortunately, this is a straightforward project. I do note for the abutter, you mentioned that you don't believe the zoning board should consider the development pattern in the neighborhood. I did look at the zoning, the prior subdivision zoning map, and a number of the lots are undersized. I do think that context probably mattered to the ZBA in making their decision to grant the definitive frontage, or I mean, grant the variance, rather. And it makes me feel more comfortable with the plan generally as a member of the public as it relates to a definitive frontage subdivision. However, it's mostly about adequate access, and this is on an existing road that has adequate access. They're not proposing to put in a cul-de-sac or anything like that. So the waivers that they're seeking mostly or entirely relate to the fact that they're not building a road. And for that reason, I support, I'll be supporting the project. I do understand that development next door can be frustrating, and feeling like the process is rigged can also, is a really unfortunate outcome of this. But that said, I think that it's really important that we keep the purviews of our institutions within their bounds. So the court exists to have an appeals process for the Zoning Board of Appeals, which, you are welcome to pursue. I'm not a lawyer. I can't tell you whether that will work or not. But that's the venue that we have established as a society for dealing with these types of conflicts. I wish you all the best of luck.
With that, I would make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. 4-0, hearing's closed.
And I would make a motion to approve the definitive frontage subdivision plan for 7 Longworth Road, subject to staff conditions on page 2 of the staff memo.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda will be item number 7, 100 Research Drive. This will be a public meeting for a definitive site plan.
Hi, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Robert Phillips. I'm with Langen Engineering, civil engineer on the project here on behalf of AbbVie. We had sent a few slides, I'm not sure. Yeah, I think we're ready to go. Let's go to the next one. So just a little context on the site location and the zoning district that we're in. 100 Research Drive is accessible off of driveways on Belmont Street and Plantation Street, and this site is zoned within the manufacturing limited district. The parcel itself is approximately 30 acres. It's the existing AbbVie campus, biomanufacturing campus. There are a couple parking lots on the property, and the project that we're here to discuss is really housed in between the parking lot to the west. In this image, it's to the plan north, and in between the existing building, which is outlined there in blue. That be our project area. And that's it's just over 2 acres of the overall 30-acre parcel. Some of the goals of the project is to just create more amenity space, which was on the next slide, and maintain, or on the previous slide, excuse me, maintain access, create more storage space for them to use on campus with some additional warehouse space, and then also create a flexible use space for future expansion. So we'll get into those as it relates to the bylaw. Go to the next slide. The thresholds and triggers for site plan review is just the area of disturbance and then also the fact that we'd be creating and disturbing slopes in excess of 15%. We've prepared a few slides to discuss at a high level the review standards related to circulation of pedestrians and vehicles, parking and loading, lighting and planning, our stormwater design, which we did review through the Conservation Commission hearing a few weeks ago, and then utilities as well. Next slide. So this is a site plan rendering of that just over 2-acre area, again, in between the parking, the existing employee parking lot and the existing building. The proposed building is just over 40,000 gross square feet spread across 3 stories, with the first story being additional warehouse space to achieve their goals of more storage, the second story being cafeteria space, maintaining the same number of employees on the site, but giving them more space for meetings and congregating over lunch. And then the third story of the building is for that potential future expansion, like flex space right now. So it's just currently designed to be core and shell. And starting in maybe the bottom left of the image here and walking around some of the key site features, site circulation was a huge driver for this project. And over to the left, there's an interior circulation road, which is Research Drive. We're proposing to kind of sweep that out to the left and connect it from the bottom left of the image to the existing employee parking lot. This does a few things, which we'll show in different slides, but it really separates truck traffic from passenger vehicle traffic on the site while maintaining circulation around the whole campus. I do want to take a second to point out here as well, Belmont Street is just to the left off of this image, and in close coordination with city staff, we will be maintaining a pedestrian route to Belmont Street there as well. It's just not shown in this rendering. Moving our way, clockwise around the image, you can see a series of outdoor amenity spaces for outdoor dining when the weather permits, and flexible use space with some robust planting as well for shade and ornamental and other aesthetic features. Currently on the site, there are a few crossings, pedestrian crossings to get to the main Abbey building from the parking lot. And what this plan does is consolidate those into a nice wide pedestrian collector corridor just to the left of the proposed building. So not only are we reducing passenger vehicle and truck traffic conflicts, we're also reducing pedestrian with automobile traffic conflicts. To the right of the proposed building is a loading dock to support the warehouse. Some nice stormwater BMP features there, including permeable pavers and rain guarding, collecting the drainage in that area. Another point about access, this plan was developed in close coordination with the fire department. So running in between the proposed building and the existing building is just over 100-foot fire access lane. With additional hydrants and fire department connections for the new building because it's going to be sprinklered. So this was developed again in close coordination with the fire department. Last thing to point out here is at the end of that fire department, that fire access lane is another sort of outdoor flex space, a leveled off area with some pavers for, again, more outdoor amenity space for the employees. Go to the next slide. This is just an architectural rendering of the building. Again, I lay out the floor uses and square footages in the bottom right there. What's of particular interest here in the bottom image is the second and third floors cantilevering over the pedestrian collector. So again, that's collecting everyone from the employee lot to the main entrance. So it's partially covered there. And the materials were selected to match that of the existing building to create a more uniform feel on campus. Go to the next slide. This slide is intended to show the continuity of circulation for passenger vehicles, truck traffic, and pedestrians. One thing I do want to point out here, again, is that pedestrian connection to Belmont Street. So the left pane is the existing conditions, the right pane is the proposed conditions, with those various modes in different colors. And, not to get too lost in this diagram, but the intent here is to show that separation of conflict of the green arrows and the orange arrows, which would, again, be passenger vehicle and truck traffic. So those are segregated more in the proposed conditions. And then with the blue lines being pedestrian circulation, access around the campus is maintained, and then there would also be the connection maintained from Belmont Street as well. This just explains a little bit more the fire department access lane. Again, we had multiple meetings with the fire department to coordinate the length, location of the access lane, along with this, calls out diagrammatically the location of proposed fire hydrants along with the fire department connections. So fire trucks have access around all four, faces of the building, if you will. In terms of parking, the existing parking spaces on site are in excess of what they would need per zoning, and those are spread out in the blue areas across 3 different lots. In the proposed condition, we would still have an excess of parking, so there's no proposed parking as part of this project. It's just the building and those amenity features along with the relocated portion of the circulation road. In terms of loading to support the warehouse, we're providing 2 loading dock positions when one's required per zoning. Planning and lighting in coordination with staff throughout pre-application meetings, we emphasized the importance for planting, and that I think was echoed in some of the staff comments. We worked really hard to really pack in as much planting, and whether it's ornamental shrubs, shade trees, evergreen trees, and the like, to provide an excess of what we would be removing. So the plan calls for 38 trees to be removed of various caliper size, and we're providing 41 as the plan currently is to address the comments, which we're absolutely happy to do. That would add at a minimum 7 more, so inching up towards 50 in the proposed condition. The lighting, we provided a photometric plan to satisfy the zoning requirements for lighting, but just to touch on aesthetics here, there's various site features as we discussed. So we have various levels of lighting, from higher vehicular poles to string lights on some of the seat walls that are proposed in the dining areas to create levels of lighting. To touch on drainage, we went in front of the Conservation Commission to talk about our stormwater report and our design. We used conservative upper limits for NOAA rainfall data, meeting all the Massachusetts stormwater standards through a variety of practices. Some of the more notable ones being the areas highlighted in purple, which are pretty substantial underground infiltration systems. So those knock down our volumes and peak flow rates going downstream, as well as get us water quality treatment. Similarly, what's outlined in blue is a rain garden, and then we have some other features here as well, including mechanical separators to get increased water quality, and permeable pavements, which you see there in orange. In terms of other utilities, sanitary, electric, water, those are all being provided from on-site connections, so we're not going into the street or in the right-of-way. And of everything on the site, I would say this is actually probably the most straightforward. And with that, happy to continue the discussion.
All right, thank you. Comments from members of the city staff?
Through the chair, this is Rose Russell in the Planning Division. I'm going to give a brief overview and go through some of our recommended conditions of approval. So before you have a site plan, definitive site plan application for a new building on the AbbVie existing bioresearch manufacturing campus. So the new building's proposed, I think the number we have in the memo is 55,000 square feet, but I think there's some discrepancy in square footage, so it's around more 43,000 square feet. It's 3 stories, and it's set back just a little bit further from Belmont Street than the existing site today, than the existing building on site today. So the board's reviewing the site plan for disturbance and slopes on site. So existing on the site today, there's a pretty large bio-research building, and there's 2 different parking areas. The applicant has also provided some information for off-site parking leases at the Beachmont Hotel to the south. And so as you can see, I can flip back to one of the site plans. So the area the new building is proposed in today is primarily a landscape buffer. So they're not disturbing any existing parking spaces. They are resurfacing some on the very plan left here, but they're not changing or eliminating any existing parking. The main change they're making in terms of circulation is by eliminating the loop that goes around the existing building. So they're stopping it in this one section and converting this area to a pedestrian-only area. So with folks traveling from the existing building to the cafeteria, so it's being relocated. We expect a pretty high utilization of pedestrian traffic in this area, going to and from the different buildings. So in the new building, it's going to be, like I said, the cafeteria, some shelf space, and then some warehousing. So in the new building, or because they're eliminating the loop connection around the building, the fire department has requested additional access to the existing building. So you can kind of see here, it's in 2 different colors. There is about 150 feet where vehicular access ends, that a lane continues plan left, that would be sufficient for a fire truck to go over. So it doesn't go the full way around, but it does go down a lot further than regular vehicular access goes. So one of our conditions is that we had asked the applicant to revise the surface treatment so it's very clear for anyone who maybe used to be who's maybe familiar, that works at the site, that's used to traversing this area, that it'd be very clear that this is no longer a looped traffic configuration, that this is where vehicular access ends, and that it's clearly a pedestrian area, but would still be functional for fire trucks to go down, just to provide more pedestrian safety measures. So I did have one question I was hoping the applicant could address through their presentation. So they're proposing this gated access, and I believe on the circulation plan it shows passenger vehicles going through it. There's no pedestrian access proposed, no sidewalks. It is a loading area, and I'm just hoping they could speak to how that gate will be managed, and what times of day, if it's always going to be open, or if it'll operate based on like a keypad or something. So I was hoping they could address that.
Yeah, thank you. And a little bit more maybe context on the location that we're talking about. It's in the top right of this slide, adjacent to the loading dock, which is this sort of darker asphalt-looking area. There's a crosswalk there with a curb cut, which would tie into the parking lot at the top of the page of the plan north here. And really the intent there is just to have access for emergency scenarios. So the gate, to answer the question, would be managed by security staff. There's security staff on site managing the various components of the facility. So that's how that would be managed. And it's there in case there is, one of the connectors, like the relocated Research Drive, for example, there's an emergency on that road, car breaks down, fire, etc. So it would not be intended to be functional unless there is an emergency. In terms of pedestrian access, similarly, the idea is that pedestrians would continue across the face of the building along the sidewalk and use the new pedestrian connection to the front door, or the employee door to the existing building.
Okay, awesome.
That answers the question.
Yeah, that's great, thank you.
Yep.
And just to briefly go over some of our recommended conditions, and I'm happy to address any questions or requested modifications that the applicant may have. But just to start off, our first condition, we had asked that the existing walkway on Belmont Street, so some folks may be familiar, it's right at the intersection of Shrewsbury and Belmont Street. There's a kind of unique bus stop right there, and there's a staircase up to their site. The applicant has indicated they are amenable to this condition, and we really feel strongly that this is a strong pedestrian connection point for the site. So we're really happy to hear that they're going to be able to keep that connection. So that's 1A. Other than that, we had some conditions related to an updated photometric plan. We'd like to see the roof loaded for solar or a white reflective roof. We'd asked for details for some of the roof screening mechanical equipment. We had some requests to update the stormwater report. We had some additional shade trees we were requesting. So I think they were eliminating about 38 trees in the existing building footprint and improvements, and they're adding about 41 back. So we had just asked for a couple extra that they could fit along the property line against Belmont Street. So that's where we're really looking for new trees. We'd also ask that anywhere in the existing parking lot where there's interior tree plantings that are required, any trees in poor condition or stumps, dead trees that have not been replaced, that those be replaced with new trees. We had asked for some improvements or some additional ADA features within the sidewalks on site. We had asked that at least one dual-head EV charger be provided at occupancy. And I won't go through all of them. I'm happy to answer if the board has questions. The last thing I want to make note of is that in the Worcester Now Next plan, that this area is identified as a transformative growth area. And more importantly, I wanted to note that it's located in one of the 2 life science areas in the Now Next future land use vision map. So there's only 2 areas in the city where we designate this type of life science use. So this is one of the targeted areas the city has identified through that planning effort and through the planning board's efforts as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions from the board or any questions the applicant has. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Russell. Additional comments on this item from DPW?
In addition to the comment that were already provided in my comments, no, we don't have any other additional comments.
Okay,
Does
thank you.
the applicant have access to the notes?
Yes, we have access to those comments, and you know, they're pretty standard in terms of using city standard details for our utility connections. So we're happy to accommodate all of those.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right, members of the public, anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item tonight? And a reminder for anyone online, *9 if you're dialed in will raise your hand, or just raise your hand in the app if you'd like to speak.
Hi, Chair LaValle and members of the Planning Board. Mike Kane from the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce, also resident here in the city of Worcester, 16 North Woodford Street. Again, here to testify, well, not testify, provide comments, support of this project. You know, this is a great investment for the city, providing jobs, as well as commitment from AbbVie. You know, we're really looking forward, you know, most importantly on the jobs aspect, you're going to see people that are for construction and building trades, as well as, you know, researchers, scientists, and all the way down to cafeterias, all like promoting and being able to find these life-saving cures here in the city. Also on the aspect, AbbVie, as well as support of this board on multiple projects throughout the entirety of life science here in Worcester, has been able to support us in a top 25 ranking nationally, whether that's in research and development talent, as well as biomanufacturing talent. So this is just another great project here in the city and supporting life science, you know, not only AbbVie's, but as well as the future of life science here in the city. So again, we respectfully urge this board to report favorably on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Members of the committee, my name is John Weaver, President and CEO of Massachusetts Biomedical Initiatives. I live in Sturbridge, but spend most of my days and nights advocating for the growth of the city of Worcester to become a global biotech and biomanufacturing hub. We are in partnership with the City of Worcester's Economic Development Office, and we work as part of the city's Economic Development Coordinating Council to drive the biotech industry in central Massachusetts. I wanted to speak in dramatic favor of this project. As a team, we've been working to try to encourage AbbVie to continue their growth in the city of Worcester for about a decade. AbbVie currently employs about 1,200 people in the city of Worcester. They've been model citizens. They've been participants in our workforce efforts that help put Worcester residents to work through certificate programs and other easy onboarding opportunities to get these roles in manufacturing. Last year, MBI wrote a regional biomanufacturing strategy that really focused on how Worcester could become a global hub for this industry, and we're actively working on ensuring that we get more and more of these investments throughout the city. Things we love about these jobs, about 30% of biomanufacturing jobs are accessible for people without a bio degree and can be achieved through a certificate or other program where people can get an early access into the industry and really transform their lives. As far as the site plan goes, I think this is going to be a dramatic improvement in that area as well. There's currently a lot of traffic that goes back and forth, pedestrian traffic that goes back and forth from that parking lot to the ABC, their main research building. And the introduction of the fixing of the circulation as well as the introduction of the covered pedestrian bridge, I think will really improve the safety, as a lot of people will whip around that corner as a cut through. I think this will dramatically improve the safety of pedestrians as well as access in that area. So we're very much in favor of this application. I appreciate your consideration of their request, and we're hoping for a speedy approval. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room wishing to speak on this item tonight? Seeing none, is there anyone online with their hands raised? Okay, I'm hearing there are not. Board members?
Yeah, for myself, this is obviously an exciting project for AbbVie and for the campus there. So glad to see it's moving forward. Overall, no concerns really with the site plan. I think staff, as well as DTM, DPW, put together a pretty comprehensive list of comments. The only question I had was on the research drive is being basically rerouted to plan left. And it's now gonna go through an existing parking aisle to connect out, or I guess just, because I believe Research Drive is a private drive, but it's kind of constructed as a road. I just wanted to make sure that, I don't know, it just seems like it's now going through that parking aisle, and whether
It's
I think
not.
just have to press
the button on them. There you go.
That's correct. It would go through that drive aisle and then connect to sort of the main thoroughfare to get out the parking lot entrance to the planned north here. But it would traverse through the existing parking aisle. That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Did you see any concerns with like the traffic volume that now currently goes through kind of a separated road that would be
No.
in the future going through a parking?
So you know, the way the site's used, the majority of people accessing that back lot just use the main driveway off of Belmont Street, and you know, early considerations of the project included not having this connection. It was again in close coordination with the fire department to maintain circulation around the whole campus. So we are providing it. You know, it can be used, just way that the site operates currently. It's not a high volume circulation route. If you're getting to the back of the employee lot, you're likely coming off of Belmont Street.
Okay, that's helpful to know. Otherwise, very encouraged to see the improvements for the pedestrian infrastructure, so happy to support it.
Through the chair, if I could just add to clarify too, to the comment about the sort of the road. Technically, that driveway is not a road from a statutory perspective, and I don't believe there were rights of others that were shown on the survey. So the applicant, obviously, if there were rights of others to use that, they couldn't impede those rights, but in terms of regulatory framework, not a road, just a driveway. So we just see the driveway kind of curving and changing to navigate through, but I appreciate the concern. Just want to clarify too that it's not a road, so we're not seeing like a subdivision plan, for example.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Other board members, Mr. King, any comments?
Well, so overall, it's a very well thought out project and happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Delera?
Likewise, well done to the applicant, well done to the city staff.
Thank you. Mr. Toomey, anything you'd like to add?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for myself, I'm a almost 20-year resident of this neighborhood. I'm very, very familiar with the site. And I would just add that Abbey is always been a very well-maintained site. I think Worcester in general benefits a lot from having access to biomanufacturing jobs. So support the expansion of that and really appreciate that they're willing to keep that pedestrian connection to the general Shrewsbury Street area. I think that it might not get used a ton, but it is a very, very nice thing to have. And for any employees entering the site that way, I know there was somebody that lived in my building that worked there for a number of years, would walk up the road that way. That crossing, kind of three-way crossing with Belmont and Shrewsbury Street is a lot safer than the one that's up towards Reactory Drive in terms of how it feels from a pedestrian standpoint. So glad we'll be able to continue to utilize that. And I will enthusiastically support this.
With that, I would make a motion to approve the definitive site plan for 100 Research Drive, subject to staff recommended conditions on pages 2, 3, and 4 of the staff memo.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
All right, next item on the agenda is item number 8, 287 Mill Street, a public hearing for a definitive frontage subdivision plan.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Donald O'Neill. I'm a lawyer here in Worcester, here this evening on behalf of Tuan Hong in connection with this definitive frontage subdivision request. This property is a split lot. The front portion of the property is zoned BL1 with the rear being zoned RL7. It's got 58 feet of frontage on Mill Street, which satisfies the requirement in the BL zone with respect to frontage. And it also has an additional 163 feet of frontage on 2nd Street, which is pretty substantial. We did obtain approval from the Zoning Board of Appeals for the division of the property into 3 lots as shown on the screen. The 2 lots, Lot 2 and Lot 3, are intended for construction of a single-family semi-detached duplex, basically. And in terms of laying out the lots, we actually have, one of them has slightly more frontage than what's required. The other one is slightly less. But the way that the building fit on the lot, we thought it made sense to maintain sort of a reasonable shape for the lots without coming up with separation that would make for some odd property lines. So the one lot, Lot 3, is, I guess, 4.69 feet shy of the 35 feet. And the second lot has about 37 plus feet. Anyway, no road construction involved in this situation. I would request the waivers that are listed, 3 waivers that are listed on page 2 of the staff memo. I have no issue with the conditions that are also listed on page 2, although I would make the request that with regard to 1C, which calls for the inscribing of the conditions of approvals and waivers on the Mylar, that be modified to just state that the applicant record a decision of the board's, record the board's decision, and that the decision be noted in a note on the plan with the book and page reference, because it's too, having this added to the plan, I think it just busies up the plan, and it also is, makes more sense, I think, just to reference the decision, and none of the conditions are extraordinary in any sense. It's just the typical conditions that you would get on an approval, such as filing a plan, adhering to the plans that you have on record, so on and so forth. So that, other than that, everything is agreeable on our part, and we would ask for your approval.
Okay, thank you very much. Comments from city staff?
Through the chair, this is Rose Russell in the Planning Division. So as Attorney O'Neill stated before, use a frontage subdivision plan at 287 Mill Street. This property today is currently one lot. It's a single-family home. As you can see, it's kind of oriented towards Mill Street. They're seeking to divide the parcel up into 3. The single-family home has sufficient frontage, more than enough in the BL1 zone. It only requires 40 feet of frontage for any residential use per dwelling unit. And then along 2nd Street, we have Lot 2 and Lot 3. The applicant's proposing to construct a duplex or a semi-detached single-family dwelling. So in the RL7 zoning district, a duplex unit requires 35 feet of frontage. So Lot 2 has in excess of what's required of frontage, but Lot 3 only has 30.31 feet, while 35 feet are required. It is feasible to meet the frontage requirements on this lot, but it's, given the lot configuration, the property lines would be difficult to maintain and manage having them cut across. So it's definitely a lot more regular shaped lot this way. But really the board is just evaluating whether sufficient access is provided along the streets. So both 2nd and Mill Street are both public ways, both improved to regular city standards. I'm happy to address any questions the board may have, but just in response to Attorney O'Neill's request for condition 1A. So this is not looking for conditions of the zoning board approval, but it's asking for the conditions of the definitive frontage subdivision approval to be inscribed on the Mylar. So I'm wondering if that makes any difference. I think these may be a little bit shorter than the zoning board decision.
Ms. Russell, just question for me then, is that a standard condition that we ask all definitive frontage subdivisions to meet?
Yes, that's a pretty standard recommendation.
I would support keeping it in. Hearing your argument against makes a lot of sense, but I think we would want consistent recording.
We end up with a bigger plan, 24 by 36. But if that's, I don't feel that strongly about it. I was just trying to save the surveyor from having to write out the conditions.
Through the chair, I'll just add, alternatively, you could record the decision, the frontage subdivision decision, and reference the recording reference on the Mylar instead of inscribing the conditions. So both the ZBA and definitive frontage subdivision plan recording references.
That's what you suggested, wasn't it, Attorney O'Neill?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Okay. Just making sure we're all talking the same language. So sounds like that's a amenable compromise. Is that a condition we have to change, Ms. Russell, or is that?
Well, it says that they be inscribed on the plan. And I would just like to inscribe C, planning board decision recorded book and page for conditions of approval.
I guess my question to Rose then is,
Yeah.
do we need to change the language in order to allow that, or would that just be allowed administratively?
I think we should change the language to say revise the plan to include the Worcester Registry of Deeds recording reference and date of this decision on the Mylar.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Russell. Any comments from DPW on this item?
No comments.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this? No one in the room. Is anyone online raising their hand? And it's *9 or the hand in Zoom. Board members, any discussion?
None from me. I'm happy to support.
Mr. King?
Project makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Delera?
Thank you. I'm generally in support of this. I do have a question. I'm not sure if it's been addressed yet. If you could just explain what the driveway and the parking intentions are, and if, I'm sure the staff has addressed this, but just for my own curiosity, if the telephone poles are going to be any obstacle in terms of access into driveways.
I don't know if the plan that's on record here shows the the plan that was presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals. The parking for the two single-family semi-detached is one car garage with one car in front, so that meets the parking requirement as shown. And for the existing house, there are two spaces that are shown on the rear of the front lot as depicted. I don't believe that that would require any action with respect to the telephone pole.
Okay, thank you, Attorney O'Neill. Mr. Delera, does that answer your question, or?
Well, I guess just in terms of specs, what the distance is from the telephone pole to the nearest adjacent driveway, and how much clearance is there?
I don't know that number. I mean, we could try and calculate it.
Ballpark it? I guess my main concern is that it's not like abutting it within a few feet.
I mean, through the chair, I'm just eyeballing it here. I don't have a 2-scale plan in front of me on my laptop, but I mean, it looks like about the distance of the driveway, if not further. So probably that's 12 feet, 15 feet.
Okay, that's fine. That answers my question, my concern. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't see it from here either.
Ultimately, if it's too close, National Grid will require it be relocated, or the applicant will have to move the location of the driveway.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Delera. Mr. Toomey, would you like to comment?
No comments, thank you.
Okay, I have no comments as well. I think we're ready for a motion.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes. 4-0, hearing's closed.
And make a motion to approve the definitive frontage subdivision plan for 287 Mill Street, subject to staff conditions and the waivers on page 2 of the staff memo, with the amendment to condition 1C to inscribe the deed reference rather than the actual conditions themselves.
Second?
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda, item number 11. This is 56 Main Street. It will be a public meeting for a definitive site plan.
Good evening, members of the board. Jonathan Finkelstein here on behalf of the petitioner, Michael O'Rourke, owner of 56 May Street. I think there are two of our, Mike, want to sit? There are two members of the team in the ether. There's Rafael Hernandez of Acropolis Design and Larry Green from McCarty Engineering. Gentlemen, are you there?
Yes, Rafael Hernandez, Acropolis Design, present.
Larry McCarty, good evening.
So we're here tonight on a definitive site plan for 56 May Street. It's a proposed multi-story building with 7 dwelling units and 8 parking lots. It has a 15% slope. It's just about a block away from Park Avenue. It's a little over 9,000 square foot lot. It got a variety of variances from the zoning board just recently, and we're here for you to review the site plan. And if you have any questions of Mr. McCarty or Mr. Hernandez, we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Attorney Finkelstein. Ms. Russell, comments from city staff on this?
Yes, I'll try to be quick. So before you is a definitive site plan for a 7-unit high-rise multifamily dwelling. So the applicant is seeking to construct a 7-unit high-rise multifamily building. They're proposing a 20-foot driveway, two-way circulation to a parking facility in the rear. So there's 7 units and 8 parking spaces. They did receive various different approvals through the Zoning Board of Appeals, so parking was one of them. They also received some dimensional variances and some relief from parking buffers. As you can see, there is a retaining wall that wraps around the site, so they're not buffering with pervious surface, all the way to the property line. So there was a few different things they were recently in front of ZBA for. In terms of this definitive site plan, we have a few recommendations for the board. So they have a paver walkway coming from the front of the building to the street. They also have a side egress. We're just looking to have them also reflect a similar paver walkway, either to the rear, to the parking facility, or to the front. We had asked that the lighting fixtures be reduced to the first floor elevation, so they would be in line with anyone driving or walking, and that they wouldn't be set up so high on the building that they would spill over onto adjacent sites. We had asked that the applicant reflect the location of erosion control fencing, details for the retaining wall and drainage. And then really I wanted to make note of, I can also put up the architectural plans on the screen, which we don't have any comments on. I think they've done a good job with the architecture. The one aspect of the site plan I'm hoping the applicant can address is how they plan to manage their trash pickup area. So it may be a little hard to see, but there's 3 parking spaces on the bottom, and then directly to the right of it, it's kind of an entryway area, and it's also where they have their dumpster. They did provide a detail for the concrete and the slab fixture, I believe. But it's kind of unclear how it's going to operate. A 7-unit building is not eligible for municipal pickup, so are they going to have bins? Are they going to roll out? What are they going to do if a vehicle is parked there? Is it going to face the entrance of the building or into the parking lot where folks would have to come out and walk around the cars? So it's kind of a tight site in an inconvenient location, or maybe convenient for people walking out, but difficult to pick up. So just hoping they can address that. I think that's all I really have to make note of, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Russell. The applicant would like to respond to the dumpster question?
Mr. O'Rourke?
Michael O'Rourke, Worcester. We're going to have the plastic containers in the back corner. We have a compact truck, similar to a garbage truck, and we pick up trash in our other areas.
Okay, thank you. All right, any comments from DPW on this item?
The only comment will be the one already submitted. In addition to that, we don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone from the public? There's no one in the room. Is there anyone online?
Mr. Green, do you have any comments from the planning staff's memo or DPW's letter?
No, we can address all their comments.
Okay, anyone from the public online? Star 9 and raise your hand. Seeing none. Board members?
No, for myself, no issues with the site plan. I think this is a really good infill development. And I appreciate the attention to detail with the renderings and the elevations, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Mr. King?
I'm happy to support it. Seems like a great project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Mr. Delera?
Yeah, I echo my colleagues. No additional comment.
Thank you. Mr. Toomey?
No comments, thank you.
I also have no comments and am happy to support it.
Cool. With that, I would make a motion to approve the definitive site plan for 56 May Street, subject to staff recommended conditions on pages 2 and 3 of the staff memo.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Delera,
Yes.
Mr. McCormick.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion passes 4-0. Good luck.
Thank you very much. One comment. I bicycled here this evening,
That's
but no
great.
place to put it. So I had to bicycle home and get my car. My final comment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, A&Rs.
All right, so we have a couple A&Rs on our agenda. This is Rose Russell, the Planning Division. Items 12A and 12B are not properly before you this evening, so we're going to skip over those. First up, we have 12C, 159 Plantation Street. So this is an RL7 zoning district, which carries a 65-foot frontage requirement. So presently, there's a single-family house, and they're seeking to divide the lot into two, both with 70 and 71, 38 feet of frontage respectively along Plantation Street, which is a public way, improved to typical city standards. Next up, we have 24 and 34 Lakeside Avenue, 2 Circuit Ave South, 15 Lovell Street, Garland Street, Veterans Ave, and Vincent Ave, excuse me. So this is a portion or the majority of the Lakeside redevelopment project. I have not highlighted the land division here just because of how much land we're looking at. So they're proposing to convert what is currently 4 parcels, which you can see outlined here, into 5 separate lots. So there's a number of other improvements that the board has reviewed at the site. This is the RG5 zoning district that we're looking at, which carries a minimum frontage requirement of 50 feet of frontage for a single-family dwelling and 125 feet maximum cap. So all of these lots 1, 3, and 4, and 5, all have frontage along Lakeside Avenue, with lot 2A and 2B having frontage along Circuit Avenue west, south, and east, the parcels to the north. So all in excess of what's required in the RG5 zoning district. Next up, we have 12E, 355 June Street and Glendale Street. So you can see June Street goes down the bottom. This is a public way, improved to typical city standards. Glendale Street is a private street, but it is improved just similar to June Street, typical city standards. This is an RS7 zoning district, which requires 65 feet of frontage. So the applicant's seeking to divide what's 1 lot today into 3. So there's 3 buildings on the lot, and they're just seeking to divide each of the buildings onto their own lot, with each lot having more than 65 feet of frontage. 12F, we have 21 Trinity Street. So this is the RS7 zoning district, which has a 65-foot frontage requirement. As you can see, the applicant seeking to divide the existing parcel up into 3. So all lots have in excess of 65 feet of frontage along Trinity Avenue, which is a public way improved to typical city standards. And next we have 12G, 612 Grove Street. So this is the RS10 zoning district, which carries an 80-foot frontage requirement. You can see they're proposing to convert it into 2 separate lots and draw the lot line here in yellow. We're at kind of a 3-way. We have a lot, this parcel has a lot of frontage on Grove Street, Nelson Place, and Holden Street. So as you can see, more 80 feet of frontage is provided for lot 2 along Grove Street, and then lot 1 has 128 feet along Holden Street, so more than sufficient is provided on both. Last up, we have 18 Westcott Street. This is the RS7 zoning district with 65-foot requirement for frontage. This parcel is seeking to do a land swap, so they're looking to divide and convey a portion of their property to the neighbor along Wildwood Avenue. So the frontage of neither lot is changing. They're just conveying a portion of the back half to the neighbor to the west. So both parcels have in excess of 65 feet of frontage, and this is the last one. So thank you.
Is there a motion to endorse?
I'd make a motion to endorse ANRs 12C through H.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
I vote yes, 4-0, that passes. Communications, I'm unable to attend the September 3rd board meeting. I think staff would like a quorum call to see if anyone else has conflicts.
If not, that's totally fine too. We're just looking to see if anyone has any upcoming meetings they know they won't be available for, just so we can try and advise applicants. If you don't know off the top of your head, feel free to send us an email tomorrow as well.
I should be good for September 3rd. I don't think I'll be here for November 12th, but I can put that in an email.
Yeah, I anticipate the next city council meeting, I'll go from alternate to full member, but I expect to be here.
Yeah, and through the chair, I should clarify that I've not had a chance to draft up a memo. We've recently changed internal processes, and so we are now responsible for providing those memos, and I have bypassed my deadline for that. So it probably won't be until September 9th where anything would be transmitted to council. So just to clarify, and I apologize. We had an onboarding of a staff member in the last 2 weeks, and Olivia's departure, it just hasn't got done with some PTO, so.
Okay, I think the takeaway is it sounds like there is a 3+ alternate member board for the next meeting, and for board members, just as soon as we know about conflicts, we should probably tell staff so that they can advise applicants who might have special permits and want a full board. Moving on to board policies and procedures, CMRPC delegates. Ms. Smith?
Sure, through the chair. So the planning board has 2 delegates or seats on the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Committee Commission, so CMRPC, and currently Connor is one of those. So we typically have a member from the board and then a member from staff. Historically, or most recently, Rose Russell has been our delegate. One of the requirements for delegates is that they live in the city. Rose has recently moved, and we are now recommending appointment of Michelle Johnstone, who's our historic preservation planner, to the committee as the other delegate for the planning board, if the board would be so inclined.
I would make a motion for Michelle to be the other CMRPC delegate.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Motion passes 4-0. Regarding board elections, I think our intention is to wait until Mr. Toomey is a full member and then have elections. Is that accurate?
Yeah, my recommendation is that we just hold that and put that back on your October 1st, I believe, agenda, just because the next city council meeting after the 19th is the 9th, and your meeting is before that, so October 1st would be that date, and I will get it done. There's multiple meetings in September, so there should be no issue ahead of October.
Okay.
It's been tough with those summer schedule. City council only meets once a month, so we have fewer opportunities.
Noted. So that will be the plan for that. Any corrections or additions to the minutes from July 23rd? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes of July 23rd.
Second.
On the motion, Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Delera?
Yes.
Mr. Toomey?
Yes.
I vote yes as well. That motion passes 5-0. Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. 5-0, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Have a great night.
Good night.